Well, hello, welcome back to Life in Six Strings on Volume TV. And look who is here. It is Mr. Chris Jericho.
Yes, and we, unbeknownst to each other, are both wearing our red bandanas again.
Do you feel like you have deja vu right now?
I wasn't sure if it was a thing now that we do this every time.
Yeah.
So I thought I would take the chance, and it worked.
I do know it did cross my mind when I put it on, but we need to explain what this is all about.
Oh,
So
yeah.
basically, I interviewed you for the Virtual Download Festival, and
Yes.
I was wearing my little scarfy thing, and you were wearing your little scarfy thing. And we joked about the fact that we were both wearing it. And then obviously here we are again about a month later, and we're still obviously obsessing about our little scarfy thing.
But they're different ones. It's not like we've been wearing the same one for the past month. So that is a good thing. At least mine is
Yours
washed.
is mine. I'm just a stinky cow, clearly.
Well, that's the difference. We see the reason why I started wearing this is because we here in the States are leaving the house. We're allowed to leave the house, and then you put the thing on like that, so you don't have to wear the mask. But now it's gone way past that to where masks are pretty much required. So before I could just be cool and just do this,
Yeah.
but now that doesn't pass military muster anymore. So now I'm just cool.
Now, well, that looks like you're about to rob a bank, I think, when you stick that
I
on.
know everybody looks like that now, though. Like
Everyone looks a bit dodge. You're like, you go, oh God, is it going to
Well,
cost
yeah, and I don't know what it's like yet in England, but now everybody has to wear masks here, especially in Florida where I live. So when you walk into a store, everybody's got this on. So you don't know, like the guy who's actually there to rob somebody is like, hey, like, come on, man, like you're stealing my shit here. So it looks like a room full of thieves is what it looks like.
Okay, so I just want to say that X Murray has said that you, Chris, are the god of rock and roll.
Well, I mean, I think that goes to Lemmy, but I'm definitely
You're
one
happy
of the
to take it,
disciples.
right?
Yeah, I'll be one of the disciples for sure.
So I know that obviously you've been keeping up your wrestling during lockdown, and you've got that show to look forward in August. But what else have you been doing? Because I know you've been making music, haven't you, during lockdown as well?
Yeah, I mean, we were working on the new Fozzy record before the whole lockdown happened, and I actually tracked 4 songs with vocals. But then, our producer was a little bit spooked, and everything kind of just shut down. So I know we've started tracking drums for the new record, but as far as when I'm going back to sing, I'm not sure. So in the meantime, I started actually 2 new bands. One of them being Quarantine, which was just 4 dudes, kind of the worst super group ever of these 4 guys that we love 80s Kiss, unmasked, non-makeup Kiss. So we decided to do a couple tracks, and I don't ever do anything lightly, so let's make a big deal of it. Let's do a whole press release and an announcement, and let's have Spin Magazine announce the formation of this band, and let's release it to radio. So the first song that we did was a song called No, No, No from 1987's Crazy Nights record. Very obscure song. And here we are this week. I just got the notification that we're number 60 on the charts here, on the mainstream rock charts here in the States. So
No, I love
yeah,
it. That's
yeah.
brilliant.
Only in a pandemic can you start a non-makeup 80s Kiss band and get a top 100 charting song because of it.
So why the unmakeup era of the band? Is that your favorite era?
It's my favorite era. It's just
Is
when
it?
I got into Kiss, that's what was going on at the time when the Animalized record came out. I was about 13, and that's just how I discovered Kiss. And as you move along, there's a whole kind of secret society of musicians who feel the same way. Because most people will scoff at that and go, "Oh, come on, 80s Kiss, non-makeup Kiss." Meanwhile, the song "Crazy Nights" was a top 5 charting song in the UK. Like
Yeah,
there's a
true.
lot of there's a lot of steam behind these tunes, and a lot of great music that they made that people just don't really know about. So we thought, well, let's give this a try. And now that there's kind of a buzz about it, we can continue to do this for as long as we want, because there's a whole litany of songs that we could do that people just don't remember or don't even know at all that are really, really great.
Have you got a favorite one then?
Well, I think so. So the first one, like I said, no, no, no. The second one we released was called Heart of Chrome. That's from Revenge, and that song has a super high vocal on it. The melody is high. It's a very high key. And when I told Paul Stanley that we were doing that, he said, if you can sing that properly in the same key and the same melody, then you did it. You know, you did a hell of a task. And that's exactly what we did. And we took it even a step further by having Bruce Kulick, the former guitar player from Kiss, join us on that song.
Did you?
So, yeah. So you can see the video now on YouTube. And once again, only in a pandemic can you form a non-makeup 80s Kiss cover band with the ex-guitar player from Kiss.
That's brilliant. So I've got a question from, I'm actually going to have to put on my, I'm going to go for the sexy secretary look now.
Oh, nice.
Here we go. So Chris, long-time fan since the Cruiseweight, hang on, it's gone up, Cruiseweight WCW days. Can you do me a favor and please add me to the list? What list?
That's the thing. I had a list when I was working in WWE where I would put people that were that I was angry at on it. But
okay.
Yeah, but I made a rule: you can't request to be on the list, and you can't ask me to put somebody else on my list. Make your own list, because if not, I'd be putting every single person on the street that I met for a while on the list, because it was a super popular catchphrase for the time. So I appreciate it, but there's no requests.
But I think that the fact that he requested means that he's made the list, right?
Well, I guess at first it was a bad thing.
You were like, no, you're not allowed to, and then now you made me angry. You're not allowed to request.
But first it was supposed to be a bad thing, and then because it became so popular, everyone wanted to be on the list. I'm like, no, it's supposed to be a bad thing. No, put me on the list. Call me a stupid idiot. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
So what did you, by the way, talking of making the list, you know when you got that glow stick chucked at your face? And
yes.
You created that whole storm of glow sticks.
Yeah.
Did you ever find out who chucked the first one?
I never did. And that's something you can look up on YouTube. When we were at the O2 Arena, probably about 10 years ago. And one of the acts was called DX, and they had glow sticks that they were selling. And I was cutting a promo about the English and whatever the hell I was saying. And right in the middle of it, as I was saying, you know, I was the bad guy, and England sucks, and you've got bad teeth, or whatever I said. Somebody threw one of these glow sticks, and it hit me right in the side of the head. And I kind of lost my temper, and I was like, you know, who threw that? Who's the son of a bitch that threw that? You want to throw something? Throw it. So suddenly there was like a hailstorm of glow sticks, and I'm batting them away like a Jedi Knight, like a ninja. And there's probably about 100 glow sticks thrown into the ring, and they cost about 10 pounds each. So people were just buying this merch and then just chucking it at me. But I'm not sure who the first person is. But if I ever meet that son of a bitch, I'll give you a piece of my mind.
They're on the list.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
Now you got the idea.
Yeah, I got it. That's a cool one. So is there anyone that's on your list at the moment?
It's kind of gone now. I don't work for WWE anymore, and they probably have the copyright on it, so I can't even say that anymore. That's why I started Le Champion and a little bit of the bubbly and all that other stuff. So you got to come up with new stuff, right?
You've moved on from that. So
I've written new songs.
So Bad Wolf has asked, "Love you, Fozzy. I love you, Fozzy music. Okay. They are epic albums. Just wanted to know who came up with the name of Fozzy."
That started like 20 years ago when Rich Ward and I started playing just for fun, and he had kind of a local covers band in Atlanta called Fozzy Osbourne. Whoever was in town at the time, like Seven Dust Guys or Clutch or Nothing Face or Stuck Mojo, they would just get together and just play some, covers. And I had some time off, so I came down to play with them. And because of who was in the band, Chris Jericho and the guys from Stuck Mojo, suddenly we had a record deal offered to us. There was actually a little bit of a bidding war between a couple record companies in the States. And that's when we said, well, let's do this deal. And we'll make a record and have some fun with it. But we can't call it Fozzy Osbourne because, Sharon will come knocking.
Yeah.
So so we just called it Fozzy just for, whatever, who cares. And then suddenly we realized that we were actually having a lot of fun and we were a really good band. And then we switched to all originals. And suddenly we have this name Fozzy, which seemingly like Def Leppard and Kiss and Metallica and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's kind of a strange name at first. But the best thing about Fozzy is the absolute easiest name to chant. And every single show we have, no matter who we play with, whether we open for Iron Maiden or whether we're headlining, we get that Fozzy chant every single gig. So what started as kind of a strange name is now the best name to have as a live band.
Yeah, it is. You're right. Actually, it is a good name to chant.
Yeah, and people know it too. Like all of our fans know it, and it doesn't matter if we play Download and we're on, second on the main stage. Every time the song stops and there's kind of an empty space, people will just start chanting it. All I have to do is go like this, and it starts.
And then they're like, Fozzy.
Yeah,
Fozzy. Does kind of sound like Aussie as well.
Yeah.
You can imagine. You'd be like, are they calling Aussie? Am I Aussie? Someone just said, I saw in the chat, they said that Judas is the best entrance song ever.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, when I left WWE, I had a ring song, an entrance song that I was using there for years. I couldn't use the same one, nor would I want to. And that's right when Judas started becoming a really big hit, and I was working in Japan at the time. I just did kind of a big show at the Tokyo Dome. We've been trying to go to Japan for 10, 15 years. And I thought, well, if I just play Judas, our song, in the Tokyo Dome in front of 50,000 people, somebody somewhere is going to hear it and go, wow, we should bring those guys over. And it's been 3 times now, and it hasn't worked yet, but at least it showed me that it's a great entrance song, and I've been using it ever since.
See, it's pretty cool, isn't it? Like you mentioned going to Japan, and I know you've been to Mexico. You've pretty much traveled the world wrestling.
Yes.
And you've traveled the world, I'm guessing, as Fozzy as well.
Yeah.
I mean, how do the two differ when you're on the road?
I mean, I guess maybe it depends. Like when I first started wrestling in Europe, it was very low level, and kind of when you first start wrestling or first start playing Europe in England in Fozzy, it's very low level. Kind of you're touring in vans or staying in smaller hotels, and then as the band rises, as your name rises in wrestling, it gets more and more kind of exquisite. But I love touring Europe, especially England with Fozzy, because it was the first country that really opened up their arms to us in 2005. It was the first country that we were really stars and had sold out shows. And, I remember playing the Mean Fiddler or the Astoria and drawing, almost 1,000 people in 2005 when we would come to the States and draw 100 people. What is it about England and all of the UK really, and also Ireland, that right from the start when we went over there, people just really loved our band. And I always equated it to the States is always about radio. And now that we have radio play in the States and we have such a big fan base, I can tell that. Whereas in England, it was more about the magazines and more about the word of mouth. And people just kind of liked what they liked. There wasn't so many trends. And there wasn't so much of a hang-up that Jericho, the wrestler, was in a band. That was a real problem at the start in the States, where people couldn't discern, like, oh, well, how good can this be? He's a wrestler. And whereas in England, people were like, fuck, who cares? He's a wrestler. We love the band and their great songs. And that kind of broke through the ice first in the UK and then followed us around the world. But we always have a real soft spot for England, especially. And we love playing in the UK. And we usually do 2 or 3 tours of the UK every tour cycle. We can hope to continue to do that.
Oh, yeah, it's good. I mean, we're missing you now. You should be here now, shouldn't you?
I know. Well, I imagine we probably would be at some point.
Yeah.
We haven't been I don't think we've been to the UK since 2017, maybe. So it's been a while, and we could see the growth. I mean, going from starting playing at Dingwalls to selling out the Electric Ballroom sort of thing, and then next thing you know, we're getting ready to go to the Roundhouse and those type of places, and Islington. What's in Islington? Whatever's in Islington, the room in Islington.
What, the Academy?
The Academy, there you go. Yeah. And going from Academy 3 to Academy 2 to Academy 1.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Same thing in Glasgow. Glasgow, Scotland is huge for us. Same thing where we went from, ABC 3, ABC 2, ABC 1, whatever they're called. And that's a real, as long as the band continues to grow, it's very exciting and it's very rewarding.
Oh, I bet, I bet. I know Elliot was just saying that he grew up watching Jericho on TV. When I found out that you did music too, I was blown away. Rarely are celebrities' musical forays good, but your band is exceptional.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And then that's what we want. Like, that's one thing when I spoke to Andy Copping after I spoke to you. I had Andy on my podcast, and
Yeah,
I just mentioned to him that one of the brilliant things that he does is build bands up, knowing that Iron Maiden and Metallica and Black Sabbath aren't going to be around forever to headline. So he's done that with, Bullet for My Valentine and Trivium and Avenged Sevenfold and Bring Me the Horizon. And he's done it with Fozzy too. He's cultivated us over the years from the third stage to the second stage to now on the main stage twice and continue to build. And that's because the fans that we have in England are all for it, and they want to see us and they want to see us grow. And so the whole country, I feel, is really behind us and always has been.
So Roach Rex asks, how has wrestling impacted your music and vice versa?
Not really. I mean, they're two separate things. It's kind of like I'm sure Jared Leto feels the same with 30 Seconds to Mars. There's obviously maybe some connections in the performance aspect of it. Being in front of a live crowd, there's a certain vibe to it, and the secret to being a great live performer is really connecting with the audience. And that's the same thing in wrestling. It's the same thing in rock and roll as well. I think as far as musically, they're two. It's not like we're on stage singing about wearing spandex and body slamming each other and that sort of thing. I think at first people were a little disappointed in that, as if we'd have like a ring on stage and be giving each other suplexes in between guitar solos. I was very cognizant of keeping the two separate, so people knew this was real. I wasn't using one to promote the other and vice versa. And I think that's one of the reasons why we got the respect from the general public that might not know anything about Jericho or wrestling. It doesn't matter if you do, because to me, it doesn't matter if you're a wrestler or a butcher or baker or candlestick maker. Either it's good music and it's a good band, or it's not. And I think we've proven that over and over again, that our band, we can put our band up against any other band as far as being, live performers, and as far as having that connection with the audience where people enjoy what we're doing and get into it.
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned them being, different for like art forms essentially, but you've got, obviously when you're wrestling, you have this persona. When you're on stage, is it a persona, or do you find that it's actually a bit more closer to who you are?
It's a combination of the two. I always subscribe to the larger than life lead singers, larger than life frontmen. I mean, my heroes are Bruce Dickinson, Paul Stanley, Mick Jagger, Freddie Mercury, David Lee Roth. Those type of guys that really commanded an audience. And I believe in the pomp and circumstance, the wardrobe changes, the going out of your way to make sure people are involved, sing-alongs and clapping along with the band. And that's where the Fozzy chant comes in so handy, to having people really getting involved in what you're doing. So you need to be a little larger than life as a lead singer. You need to be a rock star. And that doesn't mean you're, high on drugs and throwing bottles at fans or whatever, but there is a certain air to it. And I've always loved that. Alice Cooper and Ozzy, and I mean, that's why I love the Struts, what Luke is doing. I mean, you go there, you see that guy's a rock star, and that feels good, it feels cool, and it's the way it should be. I think that's something that we've always subscribed to. As a matter of fact, the last time I was in England promoting whatever record, maybe the Judas record, I think I was doing Kerrang radio, and the dude or whoever it was said, like, you guys have really kind of spearheaded this new phase of rock and roll. Like, what do you mean? Like Hailstorm and Greta Van Fleet and the Struts. Like, there's this good time element of rock and roll that's kind of was gone. And Fozzy was one of the bands that brought that back. And I never saw us as that, but we've always wanted that. We've always saw ourselves as Van Halen in 1979, where we are the party. We don't have high-tech production and pyro and spiders coming down from the ceiling that we can, giant dragons or something. We are the show, and the energy that we have on stage, we project into the audience and expect to get that back. And that's where you get the real kind of powerhouse circular saw buzz going.
So you are like full of energy. Constantly like when we talk about wrestling or if you're on stage as a rock star. What were you like as a kid?
Pretty much the same. I was always kind of, yeah, I had, making up songs and forming bands and, you know, earliest video recorders, filming news reports that I would do or make my own movies or all that sort of stuff. And high school plays and high school bands and always entertaining. And that's kind of what I always wanted to do and always knew that's what I was going to do. I just couldn't decide whether it was going to be wrestling or music. And then I said, fuck it, I'll just do them both. And that's like something when people go, oh, so when did you decide to get into music? Like when I was 12, like everybody else. Like I was in band. My first band was called Primitive Means when I was 13. And then our high school band was called Scimitar, which is one of those like curved Sinbad the Sailor swords. And of course the T in Scimitar was a sword, right?
Yeah.
So all that stuff was just part of your upbringing to where there was always shows to put on and projects to do and movies to make to kind of entertain ourselves and be creative.
I love it. Getting back to the chat, some of the guys are asking. So Mason said, Chris Jericho, is The Rock on the list?
No, because he was a lot earlier on. I think he stopped wrestling in about 2001 and 2002 or so. And the list came out in like 2016, so he missed it by a generation.
Fair enough. And someone's asked, when did you join WWE?
1999 is when I joined WWE.
Oh my God.
And worked there until 2016.
It's incredible, isn't it? Can you believe that you've been in Fozzy for 21 years?
Yeah, it's weird because it's almost like, there's two phases of Pantera. Not that we're comparing ourselves to Pantera, but there's two phases of Fozzy. There was the original phase, which was kind of the fun, let's just put out a couple records, do a lot of covers and whatever. And then when we returned in 2010, that's when we said, let's really make this a full-time thing and see how far we can go with it.
Yeah.
And now here we are with, 5 top 30 songs and 3 top 10 songs in a row. We just signed to Sony Music, opened for Iron Maiden last year at a stadium in Los Angeles. It's like it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's hard to believe, but it's also one of those things where we've put in the effort and the energy and the passion, and now we're really getting into that game shape. We're really getting into the zone. I think there's going to be a huge few years for us. I think Judas was a giant record for us. Really brought us to the mainstream. Judas was a legit, top 5 hit. They play at sports events and, 40 million views on YouTube and all that sort of stuff. And once you get that elusive hit single, it takes you to a different place. And now that we're at that place, I think we really have a chance to continue to rise and grow to get to the next level and the next level after that.
So what would be your dream?
I mean, I'm living it. I wanted to be in a rock band and I wanted to be a wrestler, and here I am doing it and having our band grow with every record that we put out. So, I mean, let's headline Download. That's great. Continue to rise on the main stage of Download, to go from first band to second band to fourth and to build to fifth to sixth. That's the dreams that you should have. I never settled for it'd be great to headline a club, and it is great to headline a club, or headline a theater, or open up for, Metallica, or open up for, Avenged Sevenfold or Shinedown or whatever. But I remember, once again, I keep going back to that Iron Maiden thing. I mean, I got Eddie tattooed on my arm right there because I've been a fan since I was 13 years old, and to be on the bill with Iron Maiden in a stadium, it's not something I took lightly. It's like, this is real and this is amazing. And we better be fucking great tonight, because Iron Maiden fans don't suffer fools lightly. We better be great. And we had the fans chanting Fozzy. It wasn't 30,000 fans chanting Fozzy, but it was a lot more than I think they expected when they first came to see us. And then walking backstage after and walking past Iron Maiden as they're going to the stage, and we're walking past. I know all those guys for years, but then, how was your gig, mate? How would that go? And it's like, thank you, Steve Harris. It was a great gig. I appreciate you having us. What the fuck is going on? We're opening for Iron Maiden. That sort of stuff is where that's dreams literally coming true. So just to continue to have more of those moments. And there's no reason why we shouldn't and can't with the amount of momentum we have and with the songs that we've written for this next record.
It's great, isn't it? I mean, do you think, like, you know, if we want to take positives from what's going on right now and the lockdown and everything else, I mean, what are the positives for you? I mean, does it give you time to sort of take all those brilliant moments in your career and go and just savor them for a moment? Because I think when you're on the hamster wheel, you're not taking any time, are you, to sort of go, oh wow, okay.
You're not, and the thing is too, you're traveling so much, and I think it was great to be able to just take a step back. I mean, it's been, thankfully, I'm still getting to travel, like I said, every week for AEW, and I'd like to start traveling a little bit more. It's been 4 or 5 months, but I think the positives is just the ways that I was able to stay creative, all the new connections and friends that I've made from doing. I mean, you and I, like, we started, you know, being friends and getting to know each other from this sort of a meeting. And there's been a lot of these with girls and guys where you're meeting really cool, creative people. Like when you talk about quarantine, I still have never met the guitar player, Joe McGinnis. We still have never met. We only met via Zoom after we recorded 2 songs. Yeah. So to be creative with quarantine, there's another project that we have a one-off coming out, which is another all-star band called the Wheel Blocks, which you'll be seeing that pretty soon. I mean, as a matter of fact, I played it for you. You know what it is, but just it's a secret. And it's one of those things where you're getting a chance to be creative with all these other people that you never would have done before with no pandemic. There'd be no quarantine. There'd be no Wheel Blocks. You know, there'd be no doing this interview right now because I'd probably be busy traveling or whatever. So, you know, that's one of the small benefits of this, is that there's a lot of different ways to be creative. And thankfully, we have the technology to do so in 2020.
Wreck Fuel Dead said, can you tell Jericho I love him?
Oh, well, thank you.
Are you
I love hearing that from the guys.
Are you blushing?
Yes, I think it's just the window.
And Rach Rex says, what does your creative process look like?
Well, I guess that depends on what it is that you're talking about. I mean, if it's writing a book, or if it's putting together a wrestling match, or writing a song, or doing a podcast, or whatever it may be. I think my biggest thing is just how can I do something a little different from what I've done before, being cognizant of never doing the same thing twice, and trying to stay out of a rut. I think it's one of the reasons why I've had such a long career in so many different areas, is I'm not afraid to take a chance and do something a little different, especially if I know that it's within my wheelhouse. So I think that's kind of what it is, but you probably would have to be a little bit more specific. But I think my biggest thing is I just, sit down with a blank canvas and think, where do I want to go with this? And what do I want to do that's maybe a little different from something that I've done before?
So what would you like to do next? Is there anything that you haven't done that you'd like to do?
It's hard for me to answer that, because there's a lot of things that come up. Like, I never said I want to start a 80s non-makeup Kiss cover band until until it just happened. So what I'm really good at right now is keeping my eyes open towards opportunities that might seem a little strange, but I think that's really cool, and that's something, like I said earlier, is different from what I've done before. But I think, what I'm really focused in on once we can get back into the groove is finishing this new Fozzy record. I think I told you guys before, the original idea was to call it 2020.
I know. We were like,
until we realized that we're not going to have this fucking thing done until November, December. So it's not as contemporary anymore to put out an album called 2020 when it's. And
no one wants to talk about 2020 again. It's like, let's have that down as the year that never happened.
Yeah, I mean, let's just leave it behind, So I think that's, because we still don't know exactly what's going on. I mean, I had my third cruise that is sold out in 4 days. That's February of 2021. But now I'm starting to hear rumors that might get pushed back as well. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, when are we going to be able to start just doing when can we come back to England? When can we, go to Canada or just whatever. Go to LA. You know what I mean? Like whatever things that we used to just do on a weekly basis are now we don't know if it's going to be a month, 2 months, 3 months, next year. And that kind of bothers me and it bums me out, to be honest with you. But there's nothing we can do about it. So
It's very true. What are you drinking right now?
it's just water.
Is it?
And my big time golfer cup. Yeah. It's too early to drink anything else. And plus too, like, oh my gosh, I don't know how it's been for you, but I was drinking so much during the lockdown. You're just like, fucking hell, like, I can't get drunk every night. You gotta just take a break.
See, I was the complete opposite. I literally just didn't drink anything. So I had my first drink on Thursday, actually. So my first drink in 4 months.
Was it lovely?
I may have had too much, so it wasn't lovely the next day. Let's just leave it at that.
Yes.
But yeah, no, for sure. So the Twitch audience are asking some more questions, actually.
Okay, I got time for a few more.
Yeah, let's have a quick whiz. The old secretary glasses are going back on.
I like those.
I saw a good one here. So Elliot has said, has your vocal range changed at all from all the impact of wrestling?
No, I mean, I've been wrestling, longer than I've been in Fozzy. So I think, once again, if you check out Heart of Chrome, it was so much fun to sing that song because in Fozzy, you don't really get a chance to use that range. I mean, much more, singing more for the song, right? And the songs are more just kind of in a different key, in a different range for what I'm usually, not what I'm usually doing, from what I can do, should I say. So doing the Heart of Chrome and doing the Wheel Block song gave me a chance to just be a screamer. And it was fun to do that. It was a good exercise for my vocal cords to get in there and do that with those tunes. So it was good to know that I still have that kind of range because, once again, your vocal cords are a muscle. And if you don't train that muscle for a while, you start losing. But being in the studio and recording those tunes and, that really kind of helped me stay in shape vocally.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Now, Vortex says, do you like orange juice?
I love orange juice.
Is that because you're from Florida?
I don't know. I just like the taste of it. I don't know why. I'm not from Florida, though. I'm from Canada.
That is true. Which you weren't allowed to say, were you? When you started off wrestling, was it in the beginning or towards the middle that they were like, actually, you're no longer from Canada?
Yeah, WWE had Vince McMahon went through this phase where he didn't want anybody to be from Canada, which was ridiculous. I don't know why. It's a crazy world there sometimes, but I am from Canada. I am from Winnipeg, Canada, and I will always be from Winnipeg, Canada.
Who's from Winnipeg? I interviewed him. Oh my God, what's his name? Old school.
A rocker, or like
a rocker, but kind of more like Neil Young type rocker, a bit more on the.
I was going to say Neil Young. Neil Young is from Winnipeg.
Yes, and it's another guy.
It's not Neil Young.
No, it's not.
Dude from Crash Test Dummies?
No, like way older than that.
I don't know.
American Woman.
Oh, Burton Cummings, the Guess Who?
Yeah, but the other one, not Burt Cummings.
Randy Bachman?
Yes, that's it.
There you go.
He's from there, isn't he?
Yeah, they're from Winnipeg, the Guess Who.
That's cool. I've never been there. I've been to Vancouver. I went to Vancouver with Nickelback.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Vancouver's like LA of Canada, and Winnipeg is like freaking like Omaha, Nebraska, or something like that.
So do you go home much?
Yeah, sometimes my dad still is up there, so I go back and forth once in a while. But in the wintertime, it's like minus 60 there, so you got to be careful.
Is it really?
Yeah, it gets really bad.
Yeah. So good vibe says, what is your biggest fear?
Not being able to entertain all of you wonderful people watching and listening right now. That's one.
And like you do try your hand at everything, don't you? Like you say, you've got the wrestling, you've got the music, you've done acting, you've got your own podcast, which is going really well, and you touch on some really interesting subjects with that as well. It's not what you might think. I mean, there's a unsolved crimes element of it as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I do a lot of paranormal and a lot of true crimes and criminologist.
Why did you want to do that side of it?
My podcast is always about what interests me. It was never going to be just one specific subject that would drive me crazy. So, wrestling, music, paranormal, stand-up comedy. I do a lot of album reviews and movie watch-alongs. And I just did a really cool one, a load versus reload. I call it the classic album clash. And you kind of compare the albums and do a track by track. And then we did a take the two records and make it into one and call it Super Load. And that was really cool because it gives you a chance. Like those records, like if they were just one record, it's so classic, and how would you do that? So I do a lot of those sort of things too, and people enjoy it because they never know what they're going to get. It's something different every week, and that's the way I want it.
Yeah, so, that's pretty cool. So what's the best new album that you've heard at the moment?
I haven't really heard any new albums lately because there hasn't really been a lot out as of late. There's a really cool band that's putting a record. I actually have to wrap up pretty soon. There's a band called Tokyo Motor Fist that just came out. It's very kind of early 90s Def Leppard type, Danger, Trickster, Nelson type of a vibe. And I haven't heard a record like that in a long time. It was kind of cool to hear like a Firehouse Warrant type thing. And it was like, that's really cool. The dude called Steve Brown put it out, who's the guitar player in Trickster. He's actually in Def Leppard for Vivian sometimes when Vivian can't make the gigs. But I just heard that. It was called Tokyo Motor Fist. Go check it out. It's something really different. It's really cool for what's going on in the world right now.
Amazing. One very quick question. I know because we've talked about this. You're into biking at the moment, as am I. What do you listen to music when you're biking?
I do, but I've really got into podcasts over the last.
Okay. So you do that, yeah.
Yeah. So I listen to different, but I'll still put on some tunes. But I put on like what album do I feel like listening to today? I'm going to put on Metal Church, The Dark, or I'll put on Book of Souls, Iron Maiden. I haven't heard that for a while. Or Avenged Sevenfold, City of Evil. So I try and do like a full album because everybody listens to everything on shuffle all the time.
Yeah.
So when I do listen to music, whether if I'm biking or if I'm in the gym working out or kickboxing or whatever it may be, I like putting on full records just to remember what it was like to hear the whole experience from opening track to the finishing track.
No, I get that. I like it because I feel that when I'm listening to music on the bike, you sort of feel like you're in a movie. In the movie, and they've got the soundtrack, and it's like the bit where I bump into someone and I fall in love. Maybe that's just me being a sap.
It can happen. I've seen the movies.
Yeah,
sure it does.
Well, listen, Chris, thank you so much for joining the show. It's been great having you on. You're always a good chat. Let's do it again next month. Yes, I'm in. Let's do it. I've got nothing else to do. Help me. Save me. Well, everyone's heard that now, so I'm going to hold you to that. So we'll see you in a month for sure. Thank you. We're matching bandanas. I love it. Yeah, thanks, exactly. Kylie. We have to. Take care. Thanks, Chris. Talk to you soon. Bye.